he was surrounded by people who all wanted to be safe also. That was their job, to make sure others were safe.
To me, Tom was married to my sister-in-law, Chris, and he is a friend. He helped with projects around the house, and he is a good person to go to for advice.
You know, Tom, he never preached, but, you know, Tom went to church every Sunday. What I respected about him is he never pushed his religion on you.
Tom was one of those, in my opinion, a rare individual.
He would comment when we'd see a fire on the news, and if there were firemen hurt, he would tell me, you know, like I would never send, as a captain, I would never send my crew into that building when it looked that way, until they were more important than the building or someone else's property, you know. So, and he taught at Rancho Santiago College occasionally. He would do those industrial building fires, and for the firemen in training, he would do those sorts of trainings himself, and he was very well versed in what he was doing. He'd been doing it a long time. No, he was doing what he loved, so I let him do it. And I wanted him to have peace of mind that I wasn't worrying about him.
That's one of the things that having the camera. You'll never stand still so you can get a picture.
I was sitting out here the morning that he died. Had no clue about that being the end of the day. But I was looking at the patio cover thinking that I was in pretty bad shape, had some termite issues, and I was looking at it thinking about taking it down. And of course Tom was on my mind because he helped me put it up many years before. And while I was sitting here looking off in that direction, I saw some smoke, which reminded me of Tom too, because of course he was a fireman. And so Tom was on my mind that day, and that evening I was at work, and my son called me, Darren called me, and he didn't know how to tell me any other way. He just told me that Tom died. Tom is dead. I couldn't believe it.
He was someone who looked the part of an individual who could, I mean, just command a presence in the room because of his size and because of the way he talked with people. But he wanted to be in the background. It was, I guess, those humble qualities that made people, you know, just gravitate toward him. He would draw people to him in that way. I loved him as a friend, but also admired him as a family member because of his relationship with his wife and especially his children.
Tom and I had a pact that was done years prior, that we had a captain, a really good guy that had some sage advice for us, for all firemen, is, hey, make sure you have a friend that you can count on should you pass away, because the family, it'd be too much of an emotional event. And Tom and I talked about it. I'd be his, he'd be mine. Never brought it up prior to that event. It probably took place 7, 8 years prior to his death.
We're over there Sprio weekend, and it was half-acre parcels, and we're inside Kim's house, and then there's a neighbor ran over to Kim's and said that their backyard was on fire. We went out the front. Tom was in his shorts and t-shirt and flip-flops and saw the fire in the neighbor's backyard, ran over, jumped over the fence. I went with him. We grabbed a couple of garden hoses and he was directing me. I never put out fire before. I had no idea what I was doing, and he directed me to where put the water, and we knocked down the fire. And by the time the fire department got there, the fire was out, and Tom was out there with the water hose, his flip-flops and shorts, putting out the fire.
When Tom went to the prison to see Richard Allen, he hadn't done anything like that before, so very hands-on, and he would paint the building, or be moving furniture or helping someone move or that kind of thing, but he hadn't gone and actually fellowshipped with somebody that was in that much trouble. And when that I think moved him a great deal. But when he was up there talking, I slowly started to change, because I could see the compassion in him and how it had touched him. By the time he sat down, I was like really proud of him.
Tom's family went to the same church that I did, and I kind of watched Tom grow up, and so that's where I remember Tom. And Chris and Tom became interested at that time in each other, and were dating for some time. And I can't remember exactly when they came to me and wanted to, or came to my wife and I, and asked about marrying my daughter, and we gave our permission and blessed them, going to take my daughter for his bride, and they had three children during the time that they were together.
I just remember how he talked to people. It wasn't so much that it was something that was, I don't know, a signature thing that he did that I remember. The way he talked with people made them feel important, made them feel cared for, made them feel like that they were worthy of Jesus' love. And with the number of people here that were in some ways hurt or broken or in needing of repair and of just, I don't know, being restored in their spirit, that was Tom's greatest service to people at our church. He made them feel like that they were something. And it was a beautiful thing.
This was built by the guys at the station. I believe our union helped financially, and our benevolent association. It was built on duty by the guys at the station, but specifically Joe Garcia. He's since retired, but he does all the masonry stuff. And so he built the whole thing. It's got lights that we have a switch, we can turn the lights on at night. It actually really looks nice. He left a big impact on the department, and I know that's why we have this, is so that we don't forget, that we remember the people and the families that are involved in our department and affect us, and leave those memories with us.
My mom's eating.
Last time I went to the station, I took my youngest son Joel, and he was 15, and there was another young man at church, Tim Kercheval, who was about 16, I think. He's a year older or younger, I don't remember which. But Tim had not gone to the station with us, so we went over there, and it's kind of fun that your dad's a fireman and walking around in there. They got a call, and we were ready to leave anyway, but I had asked, the alarm and everything's going off, and so Tom's like, I gotta go, gives us a kiss goodbye, and I said, should we sneak out the front, or go? He said, just go through the station house, it'll be fine. And he went over to get into the captain's seat, and it was like, look at that, my husband's a fireman. Sometimes it hits you that, they are, but like, that's really cool. Yeah. Just a minute. So, it's interesting. It was, they pulled out, and sirens going like crazy, and the medic van was right in front of me, and I don't know what made me do it, but I stepped to the side, and there was like 3 feet between the wall and the van, and as I looked out this way to get a glimpse of him as he drove past, I went like that. I don't know why, but he did the same thing as he went by. And it was like a second, but it felt like lot longer than that to see him connect, you know, that he wanted to see us as he went past. Anyway, that was like 3 days, I think, before he passed away.
I worked that night, and I just got home, and 2 firefighters died. We heard on the radio.
I was on the engine company with Tom. It was Tom, myself, and a firefighter. And about, as I remember, about 10:30 or 11, sometime around there, we got on a strike team to Calamasa area for brush fire, wildland fire. We got there and laid out some hose and fought the fire. Eventually, the fire got into some structures, and so we kind of went from a wildland mode into a structure mode. And Tom, I was the engineer, so I was on the engine. Tom was on the different areas with the firefighter. And at one point, I wasn't really paying a whole lot of attention. I was watching the engine. The battalion chief we had at the time said, kind of keep an eye on Tom. He was over off to the side, and he said, he doesn't look real good. And at that point, some Riverside paramedics and also Orange County Fire Department paramedics went over and kind of were talking with him. And next time I looked, they had put some oxygen on Tom, and still didn't think too much about it. I went over and said, "How do you feel?" And he says, I feel okay." And as time progressed, and looked back again, and they were doing the medics were doing CPR on Tom, and the ambulance got there and took him to the hospital where he passed away.
I was really tired from working, and I had been doing laundry, and we had dinner and all. And I think I fell asleep on the couch for a little while, and I woke up about 9 o'clock, and the TV was on, and I looked at it, and they were talking about an Orange County Fire Authority captain who had suffered a heart attack, and they showed him being loaded onto the helicopter. And they had the camera quite a ways away, and that was so that they could notify us. They didn't want us to see him on TV. But I'm just thinking, I wonder if I know who that is, because I didn't even know he was out of county. About 9:30 or so, there was a knock on the door, and because we'd been working with the chief and various people with the fire department, with Tom's fireman having died, I don't know, Megan went to the door to look to see who it was, and she turned around and said, "It's fireman." And Joel came out in the living room, and he's like, "What?" And Meg said, "Come over here with me." And I remember I walked past and I'm like, "What? What's going on? You know, what are you thinking?" Anyway, they stayed. And Meg's told me that she said to him, "Wait." And he's like, "Wait for what?" She goes, "You'll know." I don't know, she just had this very distinctive gut feeling. And when I opened the door, it was the chief, and I went, "Well, hi, how are you?" And he looked like, you know, I'd slapped him or something. And I said, "Tom's not here." And he said, "We know." And it was the chaplain that I'd sat next to at Alan's funeral. And I was not putting it together at all. It just never occurred to me that something was wrong. Anyway, he said that Tom had a heart attack. And I said, "Well, where is he?" And he said, "He did not survive it." And I was like, I couldn't absorb that. I must have made some sort of moan or something. I made a noise, and because Megan opened the door, and she and Joel asked what was going on. And I told them that their dad had died, and it's just not something you ever think you're ever going to say out loud. You know, Joel was only 15. But that was, like I said, about 9:30, and I bet within a half an hour there were 50 people at the house. The neighbors started hearing and bringing stuff over, and my family came over, and the department went and picked up Tom's mom to bring him over. And there were people there all night taking care of us. Chuck told me this. battalion chief. He said that he was really proud of Ian, how he reacted, and that when he said he needed to come with him, and he was like, well, who are you and why do I need to go with you? And he didn't want to be the one to tell me. I guess that's protocol, tell him, or rather tell. He just wanted to get him to us. And they brought him back to the house. And he was very grown up. He was like the man of the house, you know. At that point, he wanted to take care of us. He's a sweet man, my Ian. And then Joel was just 15. He was a kid, you know. It's like having the floor pulled out from underneath you. He probably felt like he was just getting to know his dad. And then Megan was her birthday when all of the hoopla started. And when she got married, you know, 'cause honestly, that was my first thought, was who's going to walk her down the aisle. And so her brothers did.
Tom knew how to listen to people. As I said before, he knew how to make people feel important. And he had that wide smile on his face whenever he saw you. As if he had been just waiting for you to come in that door. I really try to make people feel that way when I see them. I'm sure I fall short of Tom's excellence in that, but it's something I aspire to be like at all times. And so I have.